I'm having trouble hearing you, Joel. Like, I think your microphone's not picking you up very well. I mean, I can hear you, but you're a lot quieter than Kathy, for example.
Wonder what's up with that. Hello.
I mean, I
Wonder,
hear your voice, but when Kathy's on, it's like, whoa, it's way more,
is that better?
it's a little better.
Is it
Okay,
better now?
we're live to YouTube now. So it seems to be working, at least that.
Hallelujah.
Hey y'all.
Hey Nathan.
Hey Joel, I'm gonna put a question to you in the chat real quick.
All right. How do I sound now?
Sound pretty good. Better than before, I think.
How do I sound now?
Even better? That was better.
Good. I hope this is good.
Yeah, that's really good. That's more like Kathy's level.
All right. Good. I'm going to mute now.
Okay.
May the windows of our eyes be open to bear witness to our world and to one another's lives. May the windows of our minds be open to the breadth of thought, discovery, and the awesome freedom of our creativity. May the windows of our souls be open to all the cosmos, that we may know that our walls are only illusions and our deepest connections are real. May the doors of our hearts be open to love one another and to love this great and generous world. Good morning. Please join us as you are willing and able to sing our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. No caravan of despair, come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair, come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
So, welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. It's Sunday morning, unless you're watching us recorded, and then it's some other time. Glad you're with us. That was Jeff Gauger. We're glad that you are you're providing us some music. Joel Miller is your interim minister. He's with us. Leah Hartman's running all the buttons behind the scenes. She's our music program director, along with Trey Davis, are making the music happen. And Kathy Smith is with us as well, your director of family ministry. You are going to see later another choral anthem. We have arranged to have these things all through the summer. Normally the choir takes the summer off, but it's a pandemic and we're compensating for not being able to sing in person by singing more together. So you'll see that if you would like to be in the virtual choir, contact Leah or Trey. You can just email the church office or any of us and we'll put you in touch with them if you can't find their contacts. We're glad you're with us this morning. And now Reverend Joel has a story for us.
So I have a friend who is a scientist. He studies plants. He told me this story some years ago now. One day in the springtime, a teacher gathered a group of children around her so they could study plants. The teacher said to the students, "I saw something the other day. I wonder, have any of you seen it? It comes in the spring." I went out and I saw it coming up from the ground. The teacher said, "It's about 10 inches high, and on top of it was a little ball of fluff. And if you blew on it, it went poof, and a whole galaxy of stars flew about." Now, I want to ask you something. What was it like before the little ball of stars appeared? One child said, "It was a little yellow flower, like a sunflower, except smaller." The teacher then asked, "What was it like before that?" A girl said, "It's like a tiny green umbrella, almost closed, with yellow insides showing. The teacher asked, "What was it like before that?" The boy said, "It was a circle of green leaves coming out of the ground." "Can you tell me," said the teacher, "can you tell me what the plant is?" They all roared back, "A dandelion." And then the teacher asked, "Did you ever pick a dandelion?" The students said yes. And then the teacher said, "Well, I'm not sure we can pick a dandelion. In fact, I think it may not be possible at all. Because a dandelion is all these things we just talked about, and more. So when you pick it, it gets stuck. It doesn't change anymore. I think we can't pick a dandelion because a dandelion isn't a thing. It is a performance. Every living thing is a performance. Even you and I." We practice the art of love in our congregation. Love is what prepares us for the lighting of our chalice, the light that shows us that we are a gathered community and shows us the way we can be with one another in this larger world. Some cards I would like to mention we are sending out this morning. Marla Elsie's uncle, Edward McDonald, died 4 days ago from COVID-19. Marla and her family urge us to take the pandemic seriously. There's a card for sympathy for the family of Mary Lou Gubert. She died this past week. Cards will be sent for her partner, Harold Weingarten, and for her daughter, Donna. Her family asks that, in lieu of flowers, that donations be made to the Baton Rouge Food Bank in this difficult time. And there's also a card for Harold Weingarten, who was hospitalized this past week. We place a stone this morning for Muslims all over the world who must celebrate Ramadan while in quarantine. We place a stone for Aunt Omega. She died a couple of days ago. A stone for Matilda Mikulski, 9 years old. Happy birthday. JT places a stone for Ken, who died. A stone for Vicky Berry and Soleil. A stone for Mom and Dad. A stone for all of the graduates, the class of 2020. A stone for future generations. For Judith Cormier. For new jobs and new adventures. For Mary Lou and Harold. For compassionate intelligence. Linda Ebner and family place a stone. For Tony Thompson. A stone for clear vision and compassion in this time of crisis. It is a stone for all of us. It is in the gathering and loving that we do as community, that we can make a difference in this world. Now we light our chalice. I invite you to say the words of the chalice lighting as we light this flame. With hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is a symbol of the power of love. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
In his 1958 essay, An Experiment in Love, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote about the use of nonviolent resistance as the most powerful means of breaking the chains of hate. Dr. King pointed out that the love he was writing about was not the sentimental or affectionate kind. It would be nonsense to urge men to love their oppressors in an affectionate sense, he readily said. Dr. King was writing about the kind of love that the ancient Greeks called this agape, a love distinctly different from the eros, a love reserved for our lovers, which is our love for our friends and family. So in his essay, Dr. King wrote this: agape means understanding, redeeming goodwill for all men. Flowing love, which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless. It is not set in motion by any quality or function of its object. Agape is disinterested love, love in which the individual seeks not his own good, but the good of his neighbor. Agape does not begin by discriminating between worthy and unworthy people or any qualities people possess. It begins by loving others for their sakes. It is an entirely neighbor-regarding concern for others, which discovers the neighbor in every man it meets. Therefore, agape makes no distinction between friends and enemy, or both. If one loves an individual merely on account of his friendliness, he loves him for the sake of the benefits to be gained from the friendship rather than for the friend's own sake. Consequently, the best way to assure oneself that love is disinterested is to have love for the enemy neighbor from whom you can expect no good in return: hostility and persecution.
The words of this hymn are translated from the metta meditation from the Buddhist tradition. Metta translates as loving kindness. This loving kindness is unconditional. It is a love that includes all of us, a love that includes all beings, even a love that includes those who may not have goodwill toward us. It is a love freely given and freely received, with no expectation or judgment. You may be wondering, by the way, why we're not singing the other hymn. Copyright turns out to be pretty complex, so I needed the metta this morning myself. So this is what we're going to sing for the metta meditation. It goes like this. We'll sing it 3 times. The first time we sing it with the word I. The second time we sing it with the word you. And the third time we sing it with the word we. So before we begin to sing, I'll just sing it once through for you. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. I invite you now to sing with me. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Adrienne Marie Brown is a women's rights activist and Black feminist based in Detroit. She writes, "When we are engaged in acts of love, we humans are at our best and most resilient. The love and romance that makes us want to be better people, the love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs, the love of family that makes us drop everything to take care of them, the love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. Perhaps humans' core function is love. Love leads us to observe in a much deeper way than any other emotion. If love were the central practice of a new generation of organizers and spiritual leaders, it would have a massive impact. If the goal was to increase the love rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the tactical eyes of war, but through the eyes of love. We would see that there is no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea. But everywhere there is complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential. We would understand that the strength of our community is in the strength of our relationships."
My life flows on in endless
stretch forth my hand, knowing not what I shall touch. A tender spot, an open wound, warmth, pulsing life, fragile blossoms, a rock, ice. I am tentative, trembling, wishing to avoid hurt, wanting to link my life with life. Lonely, I desire companions. Naked, I long for defenders. Lost, I want to find, to be found. Will I touch strangers or enemies or nothing? My hand is withdrawn, but it still touches. My vulnerable skin, my furrowed brow, my empty pockets, my full heart. Do others reach, tremble, withdraw? Do they desire, long, seek? Are they lonely, fearful, lost? Will they grasp a tentative, trembling hand? I stretch forth my hand, knowing not what I shall touch.
We take our offering. The offering is a profound act of love for one another. We give it without expectation, except that it go to support our community. And our expectation of our community is that it practice love, the kind of agape that Dr. King mentioned, the kind of love that reaches out to the larger world, the kind of love that practices welcome of the stranger, the kind of love that nurtures a child into adulthood, the kind of love that brings us together as friends. This is what the offering does. This is what the offering makes possible. We take our offering with gratitude and thanks for all of the love that you show to one another and to the world. So last February, the church began thinking about a question. Why are we the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge? Why does this church exist? We got together in a workshop at the end of February. We began to think about that question. Why? What is the holy why of our gathering? A lot of us readily said, well, because of the community. I love the community. Yes, community is very important. It's an expression of the love we seek to create in the world. But why, I asked, why the church community? Why have a community as part of a church? Because you can have a community in many places. You can do community in your neighborhood. You can do community at work. You could have a social club. What makes the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge more than just a community? What, I ask you, even now, what is your holy why? So in February, members and friends of this church community came to church for a workshop. We began to think about, how do we answer this question? What is this church's holy why? We began the day by writing. We thought about words that spoke about the why of this congregation. We began to write statements about the why of this congregation. And then at the end of our time together that day, in that workshop, we made imaginary covers of magazines. What would the cover of a magazine look like if its feature article was on the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge and was published in 2030? There were some great images. Social justice, a people who made difference in the world and each other's lives. I think one of my favorite things about all of those magazine covers that we imagined was so many of us in those covers were holding hands. The Board of Trustees took the many statements we created that morning, and we found 3 common themes in them. They also looked at the magazine covers that folks had imagined. Using the images and the words and phrases from that workshop in February, the board created 3 statements. I'm going to present each of the statements in a sermon. The first one today, the second one next week, and then in June, the third one. The first statement that the board created from your words in that workshop are these. Love. We trust, love, and accept ourselves and each other in good times and bad. And we treasure our church families and our beloved traditions. I personally love this statement. And I love it for several reasons. It reflects the kind of community you create with one another. In the year I've been with you, I've seen how you truly cherish one another. But it's also a challenging love that you're asking of one another. It's not just the kind of love that family and friends have for each other. It's not just the kinds of love we celebrate on Valentine's Day. It includes, but is not just that kind of love we have when we find something tasty or exciting or beautiful. That kind of love counts too because, well, I love ice cream. But even so, you don't need a church just for these kinds of love. This first holy why, love, is the kind of love that brings all these other kinds of love together. The overarching love of this congregation. The same love that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about in the reading you heard earlier this morning. That love the ancient Greeks called agape. The kind of love we show for each other and we show for others, even when others aren't especially lovable for us. It's the kind of love Dr. King called disinterested love. We have a love for others for their own sake. The kind of love we show for all the human community because we believe that all people have inherent worth and dignity. That love is so important in our lives, to know that there are others who love us, to know even that there are people who have never met us who love us, even though they don't know who we are. I know this, having heard the words of a man named Bruno Bettelheim. He was a survivor of a Nazi concentration camp 80 years ago. He wrote about how he and others survived those terrible places because it was knowing others still loved them, even though they had never seen or met them. This was the love that sustained them through very difficult times. He wrote, wanting to go on living through such a terrible situation, maintaining hope, holding on to the belief that one was not abandoned. We're all related to love. Any scrap of evidence was sufficient. Any scrap suggesting that somebody cared. It was so vitally important for our survival to believe we had not been forsaken. This is a hard, difficult, challenging spiritual love we practice. To love others even when they cannot love us. I don't know about any of you, but I need church to do that well. I can't do it alone. I need your encouragement. I need your challenges. I need you to show me how we will keep on doing it. Adrienne Marie Brown, the author of this other reading, thinks that maybe love is the reason we human beings even exist. Our holy why as human beings all over this world is to love one another. That's what she thinks. And to remember that in the end, life is not a game with winners or losers. The lives of human community are not a thing for a game where we are just raw material to be made into things. We exist like the dandelion. Each lifetime, a beautiful performance. Each of our lives in motion, reaching out, dancing, shifting. Each of us is a complicated possibility, a performance of beauty and interconnection. So that's why I asked Reverend Nathan to read the meditation by the Reverend Gordon McKeeman. I wanted us to share this meditation to remember that love, this agape that we gather to practice in community, this love, it may be for the beauty of dandelions in motion and life, but it's not easy like dandelions. It's a love that we practice even when life has lost its rainbows and its unicorns, when it is difficult. This meditation reminds us how hard and frightening it even is to reach out in love to others and not know if in our reaching out we're going to hurt them. Even scarier, more frightening to reach out in this love, this agape, to people who aren't going to love us back or who might even hurt us when we reach out. You have asked in your words that you love one another deeply, even when your hearts have been broken. It takes a strong community. It takes beloved traditions to keep on loving with broken hearts. You, the people of this congregation, cherish the community you've created here. And as Adrienne Marie Brown wrote, the strength of community is found in the strength of relationships. Yours are beautiful and strong. Love is indeed a holy why for this church. A love that is aspirational, that seeks the transcendent. A love that calls us out of our own comforts and our own selves and into an acceptance of others, even when that is so very difficult. It is a love that calls us to be worthy of each other's trust. I close with your words. Love. We trust, love, and accept one another, accept ourselves and each other, in good times and bad. And we treasure our church families and our beloved traditions. Let us sing together now. Love will guide us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you give, no other can give. To the future of our precious children, to the future of the world where we live. Hear the song from deep within you. Heed the song of peace in your heart. Fear will yield to the sweetness of freedom. Love will guide us all the way home.
Let our lives be prayers of love, prayers that water dry souls, prayers that mend broken hearts, prayers that refuse to be terrorized, prayers that shelter us through all storms, prayers that bring the world to the time of peace and joy for all beings. Go in peace, be in peace. We will gather again.